So yesterday I was bored on Minecraft and I decided to make an old school RuneScape account instead. I wanted the name Vepoh and it was actually available, so I took that and I started my new journey. I chose a female character, gave it some nice clothes, and this is Vepoh. Now I had to make my way off Tutorial Island, and the first stop was this woman who gave me my fishing net, my first item. So I ran to the water to test it and got shrimp. Next, I had to chop this tree down. I think chopping wood is my favourite thing to do in this game. I started a fire, cooked some shrimp on it, then upgraded to an actual stove. I learned about quests, swung a pick of these rocks, smelted something, made something, nearly died to this rat, but I killed it first. I tried using a bow instead, but I had a million zeros and did not enjoy that at all. Next, I had to learn how to pray, which is probably the only thing that will get me through this game anyway. I threw a snowball at a chicken, and then I locked in my fate as a hardcore iron woman. First step is to put on my fancy armor, of course. Then I headed into the castle because, I don't know, it seemed like the right thing to do. I saw some trees that needed chopping, so that's how I started my game. I found this activity advisor thing, and it told me to do cook's assistant, so I spoke to this chef and he sent me on a quest to get ingredients. I nearly ran this way out of the back of the castle, but the rats and the goblins scared me, so I said f that and went the other way. The first step was to tug in the udders of this cow to get some milk. Had to pick up this chicken egg and steal some of this glowing corn. I thought that goblin was going to kill me for it, had a bit of panic there. Then I threw it in this big hole here, pulled these shafts together, then a flurry powder was waiting for me at the bottom. I took this stuff back to the chef and he gave me some rewards, and that was my first quest done. My next quest was simple. I had to buy a spade, dig here, get a treasure map, dig again, and I got an orb which makes a funny sound. It told me to dig here, then here, and I finally got a casket. I had to give the loot to this feckin' guy. When I was banking after that quest, I realised I had a clue scroll and I wanted to do that next. I had to talk to this guy and he just gave me another clue step. For it, I had to pay to go through this gate just so I could do an emote here. Then I had to go to Charlie and Varric. I was way too scared to go to Varric, so I went to fish some shrimp instead. And I did a bit of mining because I want to be able to do shooting stars soon. But when I was running back to the bank, I wasn't looking and this rat started attacking me. Guess that's my first fight in the hardcore. But I just ran away from it and it was all good. I made my way to Charlie. He wanted a raw trout from me. I can't do that yet, so I just did Romeo and Juliet instead. Juliet gave me a letter for Romeo, but he didn't have a clue what to do with it. Told me to speak to this guy in the church. Spoke to him, picked some berries, made a sus cocktail which she drank. I think she like fake died or something, but anyway, that was the quest done. All I got was 5 points for it. Next I sheared some sheep. I used their wool to make some balls, all because this farmer wanted 20 balls from me. Now I needed to finish that clue scroll so I could actually log off happy. I needed to get 20 fishing to get this raw trout, so I had to fish shrimp. A hell of a lot of shrimp. I cooked some, burnt some, fished more. Honestly, it was never ending shrimp catching. I got so damn bored of it that I talked to this person. They let me leave here on a boat just to do another quest. I was a bit mad because this guy went around killing everyone, so I tried to kill him with this mirror. Turns out it was this girl. She killed her boyfriend, tried to kill her, and this girl saved my life. It was madness. I still wasn't ready to fish more shrimp, so I did Restless Ghost instead. I had to run away from this skeleton, which was quite scary, but I got some prayer XP, which was nice. And finally, we're back to fishing shrimp. More shrimp, even more shrimp, and finally, we hit 20. So I bought a fly fishing rod and feathers, and I went to fish that damn trout for Charlie. I took it to Charlie, and he gave me a casket, and you know what was in it? Day 2 on Old School, I started by chopping trees at Varric. I think I'm going to do Wintertodt soon, so I need to get my fire making levels up for that. I thought chopping and burning wood was going to be my best way to do this. I lost count of how many full inventories of logs I had to burn, and while I was here chopping trees, this guy got mad at me because I was cutting down his trees. Apparently he runs this spot. I didn't realise that you could own the trees in Gilnor. I can't be asked with players like this, so I just ignored him and I got my wood. But he followed me over here because apparently it's also his fire lighting spot. Anyway, when I got to here, I thought this guard had started attacking me and that was my health bar going down. I freaked out and ran away, and then I realised it wasn't. And look who it is again. He said no one wants to be his friend, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why that would be. I told him his breath stinks, and then I went back to ignoring him. And on the complete other end of the player spectrum, this guy came over and gave me a bond for no reason. I'm not going to say no to that. I said thank you to him and he told me to learn how to spell. Then I got my first random event, which was the frogs. I kissed this one with a crown and it turned into a woodcutter. Then I decided that I was sick of seeing wood, so I wanted to take a break from chopping and burning. I needed 50 fire making to do Todd, and I'm still so far off that with only 22. So instead I used the bond that this guy gave me and became a member. This meant that I could finally leave World 301, and it opened up so many more skills for me to train. I really wanted to up my agility levels because I've been so sick of walking all over the damn world. But first there was a fallen star in Varric, so I went to check that out. Once it was level 1, I was able to sit here and mine it for
ages. But that's the best part about RuneScape, isn't it? Just having XP roll in while you sit there and do absolutely nothing. I think I went up 4 levels just from that 1 star, which is lovely. Anyway, then it was time to click on the rooftops. But first I had to do the gnome agility course, so I decided to take the boat from Remington to Artie to get there. But on the way there, I decided to do rune mysteries. I feel like I'm forever getting sidetracked in this game. Even on the way out of the castle, I got sidetracked into upgrading my wood chopping axe. Anyway, I walked all the way to the wizard's tower. I spoke to this person that they keep in the basement, and then I walked all the way back to Varric to talk to someone called Aubrey, and then all the way back to the wizard's tower for basement guy again. And that was Rune Mysteries finished. Finally, I got the boat and made my way to Artie. And speaking of getting sidetracked, here I am stealing from some cakes from this baker because I was passing the stalls. I thought it would be handy anyway to have some food banked for Wintertodt. During this, some absolute idiot thought it would be funny to prank me. Scared the living daylights out of me. I thought my hardcore was absolutely going in the bin there. My Twitch chat had told me that this was the safe spot, so I thought I couldn't move outside this square or else that guy was going to end me. It took me a minute to realize that this was just a shit joke. Anyway, I just kept doing this until I could steal from the silk stalls. Apparently you can make money that way, and I am beyond broke. I know somebody gets the piss taken out of him because he died at silks on his hardcore, so I was determined not to lose mine here. I was damn careful of these guards, and when they weren't watching, I stole a whole lot of silk. I banked it all and then made my way to the gnome stronghold. After enough laps around this course to get me 10 agility, I was finally ready to do rooftops. So that's how I spent the next few hours of my night, clicking these green shapes over and over and over again until I reached level 20. Then I realised I actually couldn't log off because I was only 189 total levels, so I chopped more wood until 190. Then I toyed with the idea of going to 200, but that's just how this game gets you, so I broke free from that and I clicked log out for the night. So day 3 on the hardcore started exactly how day 2 finished. More damn rooftops. I finally started to get some marks of grace, which is hopefully going to unlock the Go Faster outfit for me soon enough. My plan was just to stay here until I unlocked Varric rooftop course at 30 agility. Apparently that's going to be my quickest way to get that fancy outfit I need. But clicking rooftops is boring as all hell for me, so I checked if I could do any quests in the meantime. Witch's Potion seemed easy enough. I only needed an onion, burnt meat, and an eye of newt, and apparently I could buy all these things or make them. So I got 26 agility, and then I went off questing for a while. So I bought a small eyeball from this person, and then with wanting to do Wintertodt, I have to keep my health low, so I couldn't fight for my meat. I had to buy it instead. Then I went to this wee kitchen here to cook it, but I left not realising that it had to be cooked twice for it to be burnt meat, so I went back to burn it, but then I accidentally click it and eat it instead of using it on the furnace. So after another trip to the meat shop and the furnace, I finally had all the things I needed for this quest. I went to talk to this witch, but actually I did have to kill this rat for its tail, but luckily it didn't level up my health. I gave them to the witch, and that was a very easy quest finished. Next up, I wanted to start Recipe for Disaster. So I swung my axe, got the logs, lit them on fire, and waited for the white powder to fall on the floor. I needed to buy another small eyeball. I really didn't have much money here, so I sold some of the logs that I just chopped to this general store. Just enough to get me to Artie again. And then I sold some of my silk from the previous day. I ran to the gnome stronghold again to take a cocktail making class. Visited this guy close by as well to buy some beer. Then I used this home teleport, which I didn't realise that I had before. It took me back to the Lumbridge castle, and I had to talk to the cook here to complete the quest. And then I had to sit through this cutscene as well. It may as well have been a damn movie, it was that long. Doing this quest unlocked a bank in the kitchen basement though, which means no more stairs for me. At this stage, questing was tearing my soul apart a little. I went to mine a fallen star for a while instead. It was above my level though, so while I waited I got a couple of mining levels and ticked a few things off the Varric easy diary. Then I was able to chill out and mine this star. After spending a while here, I still wasn't ready to face the game, so I found another fallen star and wasted another hour here. Then I felt like I should finally do something again, so I tried to do Doric's quest. I had to go down these stairs and do a mine to mine some clay. I was scared of the scorpions that could kill me being down there, so I hesitated for ages, then finally went in. Saw scorpions, straight back out. I read up about scorpions and their max hit was 2. I didn't have far to go apparently, and I had lots of cake. I could do this. I went back in, ran to the clay, and not one damn scorpion attacked me that time. Then I ran back out of the mine and up to visit Doric. Another quest completed. I used this fancy home telly again, as I thought it was my quickest way to Draenor. Someone in my Twitch chat told me about a chronicle book that could take me to Varric, so I bought it and then took myself off to Varric with the intention of completing this quiz at the museum. The quest helper plugin made this easy. Suddenly I had an instant 900 in Slayer levels. For some bizarre reason I decided to start the dig site quest next. I don't recommend this. It involved a hell of a lot of walking, some talking, more walking, lots of walking. I hated this quest, and at the end I couldn't even finish it. I had to dig around these bones here to find something, and I think it took me about 50 digs to get what I needed. Then I realized I actually couldn't do any more of the quest because I didn't have the herblore levels. So I went back to Vara, gave this nice dog some of the bones I found at the dig site. At this stage, I didn't even care what my levels were. I was just mad and wanted out of this game. So that was me done for the night. So last time I stupidly started the dig site quest. Now starts the long road of getting to 10 herblore to actually be able to finish it. First, I went to Taverley to buy this empty bottle and herb crusher. Then I walked all the way back to the dig site. I actually forgot to use my shiny new chronicle here. I went as far as I could on the quest until I needed more herb levels to mix these two ingredients together. To even start training my herblore, I had to do another damn quest called Druidic Ritual. I visited the meat shop in Port Sarum to buy chicken meat and beef meat. I couldn't buy rat and bear meat, so I geared up ready to fight. It took me 2 whole minutes, but I eventually killed this rat and grabbed its meat. Next up was the big scary bear, and apparently at my very low level it was better to use magic, so I spent the little bit of money that I had on mind and air runes. Then it was time for my first attempt at safe spotting. Chat told me to take my armor off, and I genuinely thought they were trying to get me killed here, but then I started doing a lot more damage, and eventually the bear's meat was mine. Now I had all the meat that I needed, so I used the free teleport to the Birthwork Games room. I talked to this guy dressed as a ghost to start the quest, went to see his friend in Taverley, climbed down into this scary ass dungeon, I had to run past these skeletons, put all my meat in this pot, back past the spooky scary skeletons to the ghost in Taverley, and then I just had to talk to this guy at Stonehenge to complete the quest. After all that, my herblore level was still only level 3. It kinda infuriates me that completing one quest in this game turns into a whole 10-hour ordeal, but at the same time it's just bloody addictive, isn't it? But right now I couldn't face doing anything else, so I set that aside for another day, and I clicked rooftops to get another agility level instead. Then someone told me about the new forestry kit and minigames. I could grab the bag right here in Draenor, so I got one and then went to chop wood. It didn't seem to be doing much though. Apparently I needed to be near other people to get the minigames popping up. So I sussed out a route to Sears Village, where apparently loads of people play the forestry game. I sold some silk on the way through Artie, panicked like hell crossing the path of these bears, but I safely got myself to Sears. I chopped wood here for a while, and it still wasn't doing anything. This is when I realised I actually needed to be on a flippin' forestry world as well. So I hopped worlds and instantly had a mini game, and it was fucking chaos. I had no idea what to do, so I just clicked random things until it ended. And unsurprisingly, I didn't get anything from doing it. Somebody told me that there was a plugin for forestry, so I made sure it was on, and the rest of the games were easy. I just had to click the things it told me to now. And for the rest of the night, that's what I did. I cut wood, clicked yellow until I hit 35 wood cutting, and then I logged out for the night. Fuck the dig site. It can wait a while. So I've decided that I really need to start prepping for Wintertodt. I need to chop and burn logs until 50 fire making to get there. During this, I got a bird's nest with a clue in it. It wanted me to go to Charlie and Varric though, and after last time, I'm scared of what he's going to ask for, so I banked it for now. I reached 250 total levels in the process. This was a nice notification to get. I kept doing these forestry events too, so that I can get a bag to carry my wood about in. Once I got 35 fire making, I unlocked the ability to burn teak logs, which gets me much more XP. So at that point, I decided to leave Sears and find a teak cutting spot instead. Apparently Wintertodd's Baltic as well, so you have to wrap up warm. I stopped at this tree just outside Artie on my way past and dug up some boots and gloves to take with me. And then nearby at Yaneel, I dug up a cape. Now I have 3 pieces of warm clothing and you need 4. So I used the chronicle book to teleport to Varric. While I was here, I checked what Charlie wanted from me this time. Thankfully, it was only an iron dagger and I actually had one in my bank. But then I couldn't do the next step because I needed a red cape and a chef's hat. I bought the red cape at a shop nearby, but the chef's hat was going to be harder to get. So I left the clue in my bank again for a while. Then I completed my warm clothing set with this free scarf. Before leaving Varric, I decided to do the Daddy's Home quest so I could get construction XP while I was at Wintertodt. To do that, I had to tear this guy's house apart and then put it back together. And my least favourite skill was finally unlocked. A current default way to waste time when I don't know what to do next is apparently agility. So I ran around the Draenor rooftops for a while until I had 30 agility, and then that was me done at Draenor because now apparently I need to move to the Varric rooftops. So it was time to keep the Wintertodt prep going, I guess. Next step was cutting teaks. I used a free telly to the Castle Wars, ran past some ogres, and there's a singular teak tree here that I could cut and burn for the next many hours. I chopped logs and burned logs, chop logs and burn logs, chop, burn, chop, burn, chop, burn, chop, burn, until I was so burnt out that I alt F4'd and left the rest for another day. I left it on 47 fire making, so I'll be able to do Wintertodt very soon. Really hope I don't lose my status there.
After some more chopping and some more burning and a few forestry mini games, I finally hit 50 fire making and I teleported straight out of here. Back to Lumbridge, filled my bag with cake, made my way to Port Sarum, and I got a free lift off this guy. Checked that I had all the warm clothing I needed and finally started to make my way to Wintertodt. Once I got there, I waited around for the next game to start and then started chopping. I swiftly learned to turn on Entity Hider here, fetch the logs into kindling, pop them in the green flame, and soon enough my first Wintertodt game was over. I ran out of the doors to open my box outside and my first drops were 20 pure essence and 1 uncut diamond. Put that in my bank and went straight back in.
I decided to do Wintertodt 100 times, and they're all the same shit really. Some close calls, but we survived. I'm just going to show you my drops from all 100 games. Buckle up. So this is what all of my drops from 100 Wintertodt kills looks like together. I got a tome and 162 burnt pages. I got 2 pairs of gloves and 2 broom torches. I got the pyromancer top and hood. I'm missing the legs and the boots, the dragon axe, and also the pet. But 100 was my absolute limit here because doing the same minigame 100 times back to back to back has been killing me. So I went home to Lumbridge to figure out what to do next. So after 100 Wintertodt games, I went back to Lumby. And then while I was deciding what to do next, I decided to waste my time with agility at Varrock Rooftop. And I fell off at the first hurdle. Got back on the horse or whatever the saying is, and I stayed here until 33 agility. At this point, I realized that I was actually really close to 390 total levels. So I chopped a tree, warmed my hands by the fire, made a few bars, and fished a few trouts, and 390 was achieved. At this point, I realized that I still have not finished the damn dig site quest. So I bought some vials, eyeballs, and used the herbs that I had from Todd to make my very first potion. I had a massive 5 levels, but that's still not enough to do dig site, and I couldn't make any more potions with what I had. The herblore quests were also a bit scary, so I binned off herblore in the dig site entirely for maybe the 3rd time now. Instead, I visited a bank and decided to do my clue scroll. I'd already bought the red cape, so I just needed the chef's hat for this step. I grabbed my gear and my mighty bronze sword and started the imp catcher quest. Killing imps will hopefully get me the beads for this quest and also the chef's hat drop along the way. These little shits teleport away randomly though, and I lost all my run energy so damn quickly. It took me a while to realize that actually my armor was weighing me down, and these things don't even hurt you. So I banked it, killed another imp, and it finally dropped a bead for me. It's not a chef's hat, but we need the beads anyway for the quest. So I kept on killing the imps, well, trying to, and then 15 kills in, I got a white bead. And now the quest was halfway done. Still no chef's hat though. But after a long fight with this imp, number 21, I finally got it. I put on my fancy outfit and made my way to Varrock for the clue. For the next clue step, I had to run the whole way to Port Sarum. Luckily, I can use these stepping stones now, and thankfully I got my casket here. It was huge loot. Leather chaps. 3 coins. What a waste of bloody time that was. I felt like I needed to do something that was actually going to progress my account a little bit next. I did some diary things. I talked to Hans, chopped an oak tree, lit a fire, caught anchovies in Alcarad, risked my life to mine this iron ore, burnt some dough, tried again, nice wee loaf this time, swiftly in and out of the ham hideout in case someone killed me in there. I got a wizard to teleport me to this mining area, and then I realised that another diary task was actually to pickpocket the ham people, so back over there I went, stuck my hand in a few pockets and pulled out a rusty sword, took it to this guy who turned it into an iron sword, and then most of the other Lumbridge and Arty diary stuff felt a bit too risky for me still, so I just panicked and cut trees instead. Cut tree, forestry, cut tree, clue scroll, hot and cold, banked. Clue number 2, can I do? Drop, chop, chop head, tree again. XP, level 60. Unlocked use, cut a few, got a stew, candle 2. Found Sherlock and an imp, beat for me on number 3. Few more, number 4. With 4 obtained, XP was gained. Another quest, ladder press, blanket swiped, monk was hyped, threw a party, moved my body. Herding sheep, 1 hour deep. Finally close, 1 more poke. Sheep got stuck, just my luck. Tried again, in the pen. Next is kin, jumped on in. Number 3 was sort of easy, but red melted my head, near enough. Nope, it's stuck. Kept on poking, blindly hoping. Eventually, that was me, it was all for in. Quest in the bin. Wasn't fun, thank fuck it's done. Right, let's actually get something done today. Plague City. That's going to be my goal. So I need Snape grass. The last time I went there though, I nearly lost my hardcore status. There's no way I'm going back there without my armor on. So I'm bracing myself, and then they don't even attack me now? Okay. Right, last item. Bucket of milk. I went right inside this cow to get it, and then let's go and start this quest. Step 1. Dig a hole just to fall down it. Then we play tug of war with this gate and climb on through. I had to give this guy a hangover cure in a bucket, then open a door for this girl Elena. I had to climb back up the muddy hole that I'd just fallen through, and Plague City was completed. Right, keep going. Next goal, biohazard. I have to kill something for this quest. I'm stacking up on cakes and heading off to battle. This guy let me climb his ladder, then I made my way over to fight for my life, and I hesitated for a long time. He got the first hit in and the second, and I kept hitting zeros until, bam, big 2. And about 4 cakes and 40 minutes in, I finally hit the last blow, and that sweet, sweet victory was mine. I went back to this guy for a boost over the wall, got a free costume, dressed up as a priest, talked to the king, and finally the quest was complete. Then I had to spend some time restocking my cake stack, and then I continued my day of questing with Sea Slug. I stopped off for some swamp paste and then started the quest. Travelling to the fishing platform, had to operate the cranes, lift a child up through the air, and apparently that was all that this woman wanted because that was the quest complete. I'm not stopping there though. Next up, Gertrude's cat, bought some sardines, and then went to start the quest. I hopped the gate into the sawmill, searched a crate, and found a kitten, then gave it back to its mother. And that was another quest complete. But now I had a kitten to take care of. So I took it for a few laps around the rooftops, fed it sardines, lifted a clue scroll out of my bank, got a hot and cold device, and then I got sidetracked into completing the Shield of Arav quest. I chose Phoenix Gang, then had to go back to Reldo, kept entertaining the stupid cat, got into a bar fight, had a bit of an unfair advantage here because I brought a sword, but I won, buried his bones to hide the evidence, traded this guy a key for half a piece of paper, then put it together and handed it into the king. Then straight back to this clue scroll, dug in the wheat field, got step 2, spun around for my casket, and it was worth about 2k. Meh. I took another break to mine a star while trying to keep this cat happy and deciding what to do next. I figured dwarf cannon would be good, so I TP'd, made my way over, had to fix these railings, which took a very, very long time. But eventually I was able to finish this quest. Now I can use the cannon and join in the almighty Falador riots. Great. This day started by me pulling the lever and heading into the wilderness and going straight back out again. But that was the last thing I had to do for the huge reward that is the Artie cape. Look at me putting on that fancy little fashion piece. That is lovely. I should have done that well before now, but anyway, we're moving on. We're moving to Varrock specifically because I needed to spend my hard-earned Wintertodt money on buying air runes and mine runes. Meanwhile, I'm still looking after this cat, feeding it and stroking it. But then I picked it up and banked it so I could fill my inventory full of cakes because I'm going to go and start the Witch's House quest. I am more than slightly terrified for the fight here, so I watched a video and marked the tiles that I apparently needed for safe spotting. I went to get the key to go inside, but I had to drop a cake to get it. Next I had to search this cupboard to take the magnet, and I had to leave another cake behind. I put some cheese in front of this tiny hole and coaxed out a mouse. A magnetic mouse apparently, which magically opened this door. And then I ran around the garden to get a key from the fountain and back to the shed, ready for the fight. I made my way into the safe spot and tried attacking, but it came over and it attacked me. The safe spot I was on wasn't working, so I walked out, back in again, had to eat some cake, it came out again, and now it seems to work okay. That's fine. But then I had the same issue with the spider. I'm genuinely terrible at PVM. The second safe spot worked fine though, so I could kill the rest of them easy enough. I grabbed the ball and left that place to finish the quest. And seeing as I was feeling ballsy after completing that fight, I was going to do Jungle Potion next. So I game tallied to Castle Wars to pick up some free anti-poisons nearby. I'm being frugal as fuck, so I've picked up almost a full inventory of them here. Then I caked up, ready to take on the terrors of Brimhaven. I used my Artie cape for the very first time, took the boat to Brimhaven, started the quest. I searched for snakeweed in the marshy jungle vines, which took bloody ages because of my miserable herblore level. I tried a different vine, and about 5 minutes later, I eventually had what I needed. I took it back to the truffles guy, ran through the spinny bug swarms, and when I got to the tree, I immediately got what I needed this time. Ran back, ate cake, took it to truffles. I searched in the dirt for a herb, cleaned the herb, returned the herb, repeated that again, and then back to the bug swarms, entering the cave, sprinting past these scary looking things, searching the wall, securing the herb, seeing truffles again, and finishing the quest. Now I've finally had more herblore levels and I could finally complete that damn dig site quest. So I went straight to Varrock, mixed together this weird little concoction, entered the gates to hell, planted some sort of chemical bomb thing here, and ran the heck away while it blew up. Stole the stone tablet, and then finished that damn dig site quest once and for all. Finally finishing the dig site quest means I've unlocked the ability to clean rocks. So I spent some time in the museum doing that. But completing the Artie diary has left me eager for more, so I'm going to tick off some tasks today. Starting with the Falador easy diary, pumping water into a bucket, visiting the hairdressers, killing a duck, sprinting past the scorpions, to enter the mine for the first time, and fix this wheelie big thing here. I got a picnic ready for a trip to Entrana, and then I realised I couldn't finish the diary because it was locked behind quests I hadn't completed yet. So I took a small break instead and decided to get my combat level up. So I hit this punching bag for a while, then I moved on and hit this one. I threw in a few cows and a spider for good measure, and then I just decided to go ahead and start on the Lumbridge and Draenor easy diary. The first thing I had to do was kill a zombie living in the sewers. Then I had the bigger task of crafting water runes, which required a water talisman. I killed water wizards to get one, but this went horribly wrong. It was healing quicker than I could even attack it. Well over 5 minutes in and I'd actually only killed 2. I changed my tactics a bit and started using mage instead. It went much quicker now, but it still took me 20 minutes to kill 14 wizards. But on the 14th I got the drop I needed. Nearby I stopped off to buy a spiny helmet so I could safely get into the Lumbridge swamp to kill a cave bug, but I couldn't even wear it because I didn't have 5 defense. So I got myself my first slayer task, which was to kill 24 cows, which my Twitch chat had a lot to say about. I got the 5 defense that I needed for now and then peaced out, put my helmet on, went into the swamp hole and killed a cave bug. Well, I tried to. I swapped a mage again, which seems to work much better for me at the minute, and that was that done. The last thing was to enter the water altar, but my chat peer pressured me into completing the Enter the Abyss quest first, which meant that I had to enter the Wildy. Somehow I managed not to get PK'd here, and I finally made the water runes I needed to fully complete another easy diary. After that, I finished my cow slayer task. Meanwhile, I'm still looking after this cat that I got in the last video. After killing the 24 cows, that was my first ever slayer task completed. I continued on with my day of diaries with some Varric easy quests. I needed to go to the Earth altar this time, so back to the wizards I went. This is getting me some decent mage XP at least, but it's taken a while. I'm hopping to a different world in between each wizard because that's going to speed things up for me. But as I was hopping this time, my bloody mems must have ran out because I was locked out. I had to go on to 301, but the next kill got me what I wanted anyway. On the 14th wizard again too. And then I realized something. Where the hell is my cat? And I genuinely don't think it could have got worse than this because look how close my cat was to growing up. If I had have hopped seconds later, my cat would have been grown up when I hopped. I lost the entire progress by less than a minute. What the absolute I am so mad about it. I tried to move on from this and do the Earth Altar thing, but it didn't work. I thought I used the wrong essence, so I tried again, and it didn't work this time either. That's when I realized that this was a freaking pay-to-play thing, and I didn't have any more bonds. I went to Varric Westbank to think about my options here, but I guess I accidentally clicked on the stairs because I entered some underground basement that I didn't even know existed, and apparently walked in on some kind of cult initiation, but this was the most interesting thing I've seen on RuneScape so far, so I decided to stay for a while and watch this madness. I even partook in the initiation process myself, which was a 3-question quiz resulting in a bond. Just what I needed. And I had Twitch chat on my side here, which was good because I have absolutely no RuneScape knowledge myself. Right, question 1. What item can be used to make a toxic blowpipe? I don't know. Chat says fang. Fang. Is that right? Grass? Okay, we're good. Question 2. What quest is needed to access the corrupted gauntlet? Song of the Elves. Okay, chat's doing well. One more question and I get a bond. Right, question 3. What runecrafting level is needed to create eternal bots? Chat says 66, so here goes nothing. Wrong? It's wrong? Chat, what the f? Well, I guess that means no bond and no cult. Maybe that was for the best. I stuck around to see if anyone actually won this game and was incredibly distracted by this person pretending to be a frog. I decided to rip it right back at them and then bam, I had a bond in my bank. I redeemed that bond and then completed the Earth Altar task, geared up for the stronghold to finish the diary. And I thought that would be me for the day, but chat peer pressured me into finishing the entire stronghold of security. And after their display in the cult quiz, I shouldn't have listened to them, but I went along with it anyway. Even though I hesitated at every single door, eventually had all 4 levels completed, and I was faced with an intense choice here. Fancy boots or fighting boots? I like the fighting ones better, but I genuinely think my Twitch chat would have disowned me if I took them, so I went for fancy. And anyway, that was the Varric easy diary finish too, and that was absolutely enough for one day. So if you watched the previous episode, you'll know exactly why I'm on my way to Gertrude right now. I've got to pick up a new kitten, or so I thought. She's flipping charging me for it. I had to go back to the bank to lift the cash and finally had the replacement that I needed. I took it for a few laps around the Varric rooftops and then I decided to start Client of Corrend. But I didn't have a feather, so I had to kill a chicken, and then I ran towards the docks at Port Sarum, making sure to feed and stroke this cat as I went. Then I hopped on the boat to Corrend and spent ages running around this whole island to complete the quest. And since I was here anyway, I decided to do some small jobs to get favour in Osidious. I pushed these branches around the farm, ploughing the fields, filled buckets with some salt that I had from Todd, but she wants 918 buckets, and I have 19 to give her. That's grim. I spent ages doing the same thing over and over. Dig, run, dump, run, dig, run, dump, run. Then I went to the beach bank to fill my salty buckets up and back to hand them over to her. What felt like ages only got me 81 buckets and 18.2% favour. I ploughed a few more fields and then started a new quest, Queen of Thieves. Forced me down into the sewers to see some hidden sewer city. Then I committed a small murder and headed back to the sewer city. Back above ground I had to break into this chest and then down here again to finish the Queen of Thieves quest. Staying in Corrend, I made my way over to start Depths of Despair. I searched in this library for far too long to find a book, skimmed it and then found a cave full of crabs, killed one, crossed the river, entered a hole, found a snake, then realised I had to fight it. It only hits 3 though, I'm not too worried about it. Chat told me I had it safe spotted anyway though, I didn't even realise. Maybe one day I'll get the hang of this PVM stuff. The quest was completed so I'm happy. I bought some buckets and went back to the salt mine because I want to get the favour up so that I can do that cooking thing. I spent about 20 minutes there and then I filled 150 buckets. Brought those back to the clerk which got me up to 45% favour. And finally I could enter their kitchen and cook some pies. Meat pies were up first and then I could do stew. I love the XP drops that you get in this little kitchen so I stayed here for a while until I had 32 cooking and 82 favour. Then I went to pocket some fruit for the thieving XP and I don't know if I needed to or not but I banked the inventories. Then I decided to finish the city's favour in the kitchen. I don't fancy leaving Corrend just yet so I'm going to do some diaries next. First I made the long trek to this mine, then I took myself fishing in the river mulch. Decided to use this book that I got to TP me to Hesidius so I could kill a goblin thing and get a limpwort root that was needed to create a strength potion in the pub. On the way there I prayed at the castle altar. Then I had the genius idea to attack this lesser demon, not realising that these guys would attack me. I ran like hell out of there. Then I tried the library again and even with this plugin I couldn't find what I needed. I spent like half an hour checking all the bookcases here. I gave it to the guy and decided I'm never going back there again. Made the potion in the pub, healed some soldiers, took a trip to Land's End, and then the last thing on the diary I couldn't do because I need 25 construction levels to enter my house in Hesidius. Well, that's great. Guess I know what I'm doing next time. 15 days in and I have only completed 1 Slayer task. That feels a bit miserable. So I'm starting today by getting my second task and it's 29 rats. I said I was going to get a Slayer task. I didn't say anything about doing it. Instead, I'm going to procrastinate with a thieving garden. There's a really great plugin that you can get for here that shows you when you need to run to the next safe square. But I was only half paying attention, so I definitely got chucked out a few times. I collected enough of the tree fruit to make 4 juices and threw in a couple of herbs for good measure. Then I took my juice to Osman, who gave me 5,400 thieving XP in return. Not bad. Next, I started the Haziel cult quest. I spoke to Clivet, had to poison the soup cooking on the stove, spin 5 sewer valves around, and then had to ask this guy for a lend of his raft to surf through the sewers so I could talk to this guy who wanted me to get a scroll for him. Then back through the cave, into the sewers. I swear half the people in RuneScape live down here. Gave the scroll to the guy who used it to resurrect Haziel, and that was the quest completed. Next up was the clock tower quest. Down this ladder, poisoned the rats, let them die, got the cog. To be honest, I think killing those rats should have counted for my Slayer task. Anyway, I went down a different ladder and found more rats, so I decided to do the task while I was here anyway. It didn't take too long because most of the rats only took 1 or 2 hits. And once I'd killed 29 of them and completed my second ever Slayer task, I moved on with the quest, collecting my second cog, running through fire for the 3rd, past ogres for the 4th, and that was my second quest of the day complete. Third quest was Murder Mystery. I went to this castle and couldn't figure out who to talk to. That was probably because I was in entirely the wrong place. I made my way more north and spoke to the guard. I had to do some investigating to find out who the killer was and then handed over my information. And that was another quest ticked off the list. Fishing contest was my 4th quest of the day. I had to sneak through this fence. I tagged these dogs because they could potentially kill me here. And then I tried to sneak past them to collect some red vine worms. And then back past the dogs again to make my way outside the fence. I entered the area for the fishing contest, stuck some garlic in a pipe, caught a fish, handed it in and won the trophy. Handing over the trophy here completed the quest and allowed me to access the tunnel under White Wolf Mountain now. I made my way over to Varric for the 5th quest of the day, which was the Knight's Sword. But I needed 2 iron bars. I couldn't make them with my 6 smithing levels. I needed 15. I hit copper rocks for a while until I filled my inventory up, then took them over to Edgeville, swapped some for tin ore that I had in my bank already, and made some bronze bars at this fireplace. Once I'd made all that I could with the tin and copper that I had in my bank, I used an anvil in Varric to make some bronze skims. After a bit, I changed it up to bronze warhammers, and after finishing that, I had 11 smithing levels. Near enough, so I hit rock a few more times, some tin rock, then copper rock. Then back at the Edgeville fireplace, I made more bars, then whacked the bars, made warhammers. Then I did one more inventory of the rocks and the bars, and then I had 15 levels. So I made the 2 iron bars that I needed, Went to see Thurgo, called into Falador, searched a cupboard, stuck my gear on, climbed down this ladder, sussed this place out for a little while to try and figure out the path that I should take against these ice giants and ice warriors. Didn't even notice this guy coming over to attack me. I called in some reinforcements. Well, Jam kindly offered to help me here. I hit the blue rock, got what I needed, climbed back up the ladder, went back to Thurgo, got the shiny sword, handed it in and completed the quest. And my smithing shot up to 31. At this point I decided it was time to get a new Slayer task again. This time I had to kill 16 monkeys. No procrastination this time though. I teleported straight to Artie, geared up with range this time, killed a few monkeys. I know I need to get my range up at some point, but this is taking forever, so I switched to mage again. Killed all the monkeys that I had to and completed my 3rd Slayer task. I went straight back to the Slayer Master and got my 4th task, 22 wolves. Without hesitation, I went straight to the Stronghold of Security, killed 8 wolves with my sword, then finished the rest off with mage, and completed my 4th Slayer task. But I still can't get points until I complete my 5th one. So I went back to the Slayer Master again, but I did make a quick stop on the way this time to do the clue scroll that I got at Wolves. It was a one and done anyway. I got the casket, and inside it was a steel axe and a staff of air. Okay, let's go and see what my 5th task is. 36 dogs. A bit scared of that one. I think I'll leave it for a while. So day 16 started by going to Yaneel to grab a bird snare from the shop there. I bought box traps by mistake though. I'll probably need them for something at some point anyway. I used Rada's Blessing to get to the Karen woodland, popped a bird snare down and waited around for it to catch something. It took a while, but eventually I started catching some birds, and soon enough I had the 10 hunter levels that I wanted. I stuck around a little longer though, and I tried to talk to the birds to see if it would help catch them, but it actually made it worse. Then I went to start my first quest of the day, Goblin Diplomacy. I grabbed 3 different sets of goblin meal and used dye on 2 of them. Then I spoke to Warface. I watched his fashion show, and then that was literally the quest completed. I took my crafting levels to 18. My second quest was Lost Tribe. I spoke to a few people in Lumbridge, made a large hole in the wall here, entered the hole to pick up a brooch. I read all about goblin symbols in the Varric library, then spoke to Warface again, entered the hole again, made my way through this big tunnel which took absolutely ages to get through. Luckily I had a blue line to follow. Spoke to Mistag on the other side, who teleported me right back to the start. Then I found the ham hideout, went inside to search a crate, stole some of their silverware. Then I was back in the tunnel, but now I can fast travel through it, which is handy. I spoke to Mistag again, and then I watched the Dorgerson Treaty get signed, and that was the quest completed, and it gave me the almighty Ring of Life. It went straight onto my finger. Back in the Goblin Village to free the Goblin Generals for the recipe for disaster subquest, I went down the ladders, spoke to the Goblin Cook, then ran away like the clappers from this exploding cauldron, and then tried to use some of the slot on Wartface or Bent Nose, but it wouldn't work. It took me flipping ages to realise that I actually had to give it to the ones that were frozen in the castle. So I did that, and finally the quest was completed. That didn't really feel like enough for one day though, so I headed back through the hole, travelled through the tunnel, started the Death to the Dorgerson quest next. Back through the hole again, and a little goblin called Zanuck was waiting for me in the basement. I needed to grab him a set of hand robes though, so back I went to the ham hideout, and I wish I could say that this went quite quickly, but it literally took me half a bloody hour to get all 7 pieces. After I got the full set, I snuck a goblin into the hideout and down a sneaky trap door, and then the goblin killed all the guards down here for me, but then one of them caught him spying and chucked him out of the hideout. So I took little Zanuck through the basement hole, made another hole, and handed him to the snake lady. She made me catch some of this wall juice and then used it to resurrect the goblin. Then Zanuck and I went back through both holes, and I hid Zanuck in a box to carry him down this ladder. I needed him to help me kill the guards here, but it didn't start off very well. I thought Zanuck would block them from attacking me here, but thankfully I found a way to my safe spot without dying, and I was able to kill both of these guards here. And I'm not sure if much, but I think I had to kill that 3rd guard before I started to kill Sigmund, so I ran out to try to kill him, but he followed me. This is a terrible spot to do this. I tried to lure Sigmund further away, but it was useless. I ended up just tanking some hits for a while killing the guard, but it was getting far too close for my liking, so I ran back to the boxes so I could heal myself up with some cakes. And then I went back for the last hit, but it wasn't enough. One more hit surely kills him, and it did. Okay, now it's just us and Sigmund, and my safe spot was working, so this was easy enough, which I was glad of after that mess. We got rid of Sigmund, I hit 28 magic levels, smashed some dueling machine, and Zanuck brought me to the head of the cave goblins, and the quest was completed. And after that quest, 16 days into this game, I am finally base 10s. I made my way to the Dorgerson city so I could pickpocket one of these guys and get the bullseye lantern. Then at the gem trader I bought an uncut sapphire, cut it for the crafting XP and used that on the lantern, lit it, and now I can do the Tears of Guthix quests, but maybe next time. Every time I log back onto this game, I have no clue where I left it the last time. I spent ages bank standing just trying to figure out what to do today. I ended up taking my ham robes out and a lot of shrimp with the aim of heading down into the ham hideout and pickpocketing the guards in the dungeon to get keys. These keys could unlock chests, and it seemed to be a good way to get free loot. So after I got them, I used my bronze ones first. Chest 1 had 25 coins inside. Chest 2, 3 coins. Chest 3 had a ruby ring, sapphire amulet, and a sapphire necklace. Next up, I had 5 silver keys. And in chest 1, I had a gold ring. Chest 2, 80 coins. Chest 3, sapphire necklace, sapphire amulet, sapphire ring, and an emerald. Chest 4, 61 coins, and chest 5, 52 coins. My one singular iron key got me a sapphire amulet, sapphire necklace, sapphire ring, and a sapphire. And I had 3 steel keys. Chest 1, 91 coins. Chest 2, an emerald ring, sapphire amulet, and sapphire necklace. Chest 3, 58 coins. I don't think I'll be going back there in a hurry, to be honest, but I got some gems and some new jewelry to add to my bank. I really want to work on the easy diaries at the minute, but I need a mind talisman to complete the Falador easy diary. I keep telling you the RD to find some imps to kill. The drop rate for the talisman I need is better on imps than wizards apparently, but I've killed 36 imps so far and not got one. And it didn't take me long to remember why I hated killing imps. At least they don't do any damage to me. I don't want to keep wasting cakes. It's a 1 out of 18 drop rate here, and at this point I've killed 45 to date. I genuinely started to wonder if I was at the wrong imps, but imp 47 was kind enough to drop the talisman when he died. And on the way to Falador I stopped by the cake stall to get some free cake. I banked a full inventory of that, and that took me up to 71 cakes. I feel like I still need more than that, so I'll come back here soon. The final thing I needed was a silver bar. I contemplated whether I should steal it or buy it. I waited for the right moment and then I went in for the steal, but I couldn't even steal it until 50 thieving, so I guess I'm buying that instead. I took the boat to Remington and headed into Falador. I smelted some blurite and then went to smith it along with the tiara that I needed. And this is the moment that I realized I needed a tiara mold, which you can buy in Remington, where I just was. I smithed the limbs to get that out of the way, then went all the way back to get the tiara mold, stopping for some go faster sweets on the way, bought the tiara mold and every single mold that shop had for sale. Screw running about for that again in the future. Back into Falador to use the furnace because I learned that you don't actually smith a tiara, you smelt it, and I couldn't do it without 23 crafting. 2.5 crafting levels above what I currently have. So I cut the gems that I could from my bank. I lost 3 out of 4 jades. Turned to chat at this point who told me about soda ash and sand. I'd need about 90 to reach level 23, so I free game tallied and bought this shop's complete stock of sand and ash. I hopped to get a shop with some stock again, bought all of theirs too. 9 hops and shops later, I bought a glass blowing pipe, Lumbridge tallied, shot my very first canoe tree and took it to Edgeville. And there I made some molten glass, 21 crafting, 22 crafting, and finally 23 crafting. And now I can make that tiara. I took a canoe, entered the runes, made the mine tiara, entered Falador, found out that my crest was a symbol of Varrock, and finally I could collect my rewards for completing the Falador easy diary. Just over an hour after setting out to get the one last little item that I needed for it. Nice. Next up, I remembered that I could do the Tears of Guthix quest now. I forgot all about it, so I got what I needed for that, entered the hole, then came back out because my strength level is the lowest skill and I don't want my Guthix points going in there. I hit a few spiders with my wooden spoon until my rune crafting level had the lowest XP. Then I entered the cave holes, got carried over a huge black hole which I was very worried was going to lead me right into my death, hit a rock, made a bowl, talked to a snake and completed the quest. And now I could do Tears of Guthix for the first time. I held my new bowl up to the blue walls, then walked out and drank the blue juice. Now I had 13 crafting levels. At this point, I had 637 levels and I wanted to log out on a round number. So I fletched the logs I had in my bank, shot spiders with arrows to up my range, and then it was either attack or thieving next. And the spiders were closer, so attack it was. And with that, I had 640 total levels, and there I can log out happy enough for tonight. I'm starting today with a waterfall quest. I've heard that this is one of the best quests to get done early. I boarded this dodgy looking raft, flung a rope at a rock, dragged myself towards a waterfall, jumped down onto this ledge, hopped onto this barrel and flung myself down into the waterfall. I read a book from the house at the bottom, then I walked towards the tree gnome village, and then I remembered that the Arty Cape existed, used that, ran past these scary turtle things in case they attacked me, followed the blue line around this maze, hopped down a ladder, took a key from this crate, got a rock, took it to the gnome king, placed it on a statue thing, looted a chest, took someone's ashes from their grave, bit grim that, got a big whack for it from this green giant, headed back to the waterfall, entered the door this time, ran straight to the crate to loot it, sprinted past these red giants, put runes on these pillars, and the quest was finished. It got me a massive drop of strength and attack XP, and a few other things. My next goal was Observatory quest, where I might have to defeat a level 42 Goblin guard. So I got me some cake, teleported to Castle Wars and spoke to this guy to start the quest. Down this scary looking staircase, stole from this chest, tried to go through this gate but woke up the sleeping guard who started attacking me. Turns out that that's the level 42 one. I tried my best to get it stuck in this blue square but nothing I did was working. I ran around the corner a little bit and came back, and that time it finally worked. So I went in, stole the stinky stew. When I took it back to the guy who gave me this quest, he let me look through his telescope and rewarded me with crafting XP. I chopped down a tree, made a wee canoe, paddled myself up the river, checked my kudos, which was 73, told someone about all the drama I'd seen going on around here, and they paid me in kudos for my satisfying. And that took me to 88. I still needed to discover an old coin, so I lifted some rocks, inspected them on the bench, and then put the coin on display. This took me to 98 kudos. I only needed 2 more now to unlock Fossil Island and birdhouses for Hunter. So I decided to go to the woodland to catch some birds. I needed 12 Hunter to do the Ascent of Arceus. I got 11, then I got 12, and then I decided that I may as well stay until I unlocked oak birdhouses. While I was waiting, I chopped this tree, got a bird's nest, fletched the logs, caught some birds, and got the 14 Hunter that I needed. Then I went to start the Priest in Peril quest. I bought some arrows for the fight, made my way to the church, went down the ladder, and started the fight. This dog is meant to be safe spottable, and again I didn't do it right. I think I'm learning though, because eventually I got it locked in this corner behind the wall, and I stayed here while I used up all the arrows that I just bought. Next up was another fight, this time in a church. I used to Pew's the safe spot this time while I shot my arrows out at him and killed him dead. I broke this guy out of jail, then found him underground. He wanted me to bring him essence, so I grabbed it from the bank in Varric and brought it all the way back to him. And with that, I unlocked an entirely new area of this map, Mauritania. That quest got me the kudos that I needed, so I handed it in at the museum, passed 100, and now I can complete Bon Voyage. I had to go around the place just talking to a lot of people, then I boarded this boat and had to navigate my way through the ocean, which I could just not get the hang of. It took me about 10 minutes just to figure this out. Once that was finished, the quest was done, and I could now get onto Fossil Island. I made a handy wee bank here and logged out there for the night. I'm starting today off by heading straight to the fire to make some bars that I need for later. Then I teleported to Hesidius, walked to my house and built the crafting table. I needed to do a bit of DIY here to make some clockworks, and then I could finally make oak birdhouses. I took them with me and made my way to Fossil Island. Then I realised I need seeds here too. So I checked my bank and I didn't bloody have any, so I had to go all the way back to Drain Ord, buy some seeds, and then head all the way back. And then finally I was on the island. I built a well and a wee barbecue and a bench and a spinning wheel and a loom. And my reward for all of that was 5 little fossils. I took them straight to the bench to suss out what was inside. I had a full set of skeleton bones here. Next up was to do my birdhouses. I ran through these massive mushrooms, set one up, put some seeds on it, then ran back down because I missed one down here, set up my second one, then back around past the camp I walked to the valley, set my last 2 birdhouses here, and then tried to take the magic mushroom out, but I hadn't unlocked any of the other ones yet, so I had to walk all the way back around, through the massive mushrooms again, unlocked this one, and then I thought I may as well lock another one while I was on the island. Then I teleported out with my cape, walked to Sears, and joined in with the foresters for a while, cutting trees, getting XP. I got a clue while I was here that it meant I had to go to Catherby, for once something nearby. I got 61 woodcutting and then went to the clue spot. It sent me to one of the pubs in Varric. The clue I got from here required a black cape, leather chaps, and a steel mace. I could buy a steel mace from Falador, then I killed a highwayman for the black cape, and I went to Alcarad to tan some hide for the leather chaps. I was extremely glad that this was the last one and I got my casket here. Inside the casket we had salmon, a black full helm, and a black dagger. My next goal was to get the nature spirit quest finished. I had to get some silver bars to complete it, so I smelted some in Lumbridge and then made the silver sickle that I needed for this quest. I walked my way over to Canifis, entered the Mortmire swamp, and journeyed down to the grotto. I tried to talk to this guy and it wasn't working, but I wasn't wearing my ghost necklace, so that fixed it. After that, I went back to the priest, tickled his feet or something here, and then made magic mushrooms on these logs. I placed him down for this ghost guy. He did some green voodoo shit outside his grotto. He gave me a green bag to fill with shrooms, but I ran out of prayer while I was doing this. People were telling me that I could pray in the grotto, so I tried that, but it turned out I couldn't do that until after this quest. The Chronicle tallied to Varric and had to walk all the way through Varric again, stopping to pray at this church, and all the way through Canifis to the Mortmire swamp again. Now I could finish making the mushrooms. I filled the bag up, fought a ghost, which actually did a lot of damage to me. I ate all but one of my shrimp I had with me here. Then I went back to Canifis so that I could grab gear and more food. I was so unprepared for that. I entered the swamp for like the 4th time today, fought ghosts again, hopped over to the grotto, spoke to the green guy, and after more green magic stuff, I had completed the quest. This up my crafting level, HP level, defense level, and overall combat level. And now I could pray at the fountain. Next up, I started the Lost City quest. I bought some runes to bring with me, took a boat over to Intrana and climbed down this ladder and started fighting with the skeletons to get the bronze axe I needed. I found a safe spot here, but somehow I attacked the wrong one, so my safe spot was broken, but then I nearly flipped and died. I figured it out eventually and started killing skellies again and got the bronze axe that I needed to continue the quest. I ran towards this tree and figured out my next safe spot, but I fudged it up. Then I fought this tree spirit using the runes that I just bought. Once it was dead, I chopped the tree, tallied to Lumbridge, and entered this shed. And then I had to try that again, and the quest was complete, which gives me access to Zenaris. I figured I may as well start the fairy tale quest next. I had to walk all over the place, speaking to different farmers, and then I entered the shed again, went to Zenaris and spoke to the fairies. Then I had to enter this terrifying tower, talk to someone, and left that place again. I dug up a grave and got lost in this house. Couldn't figure out how to get out for ages. I spoke to this wizard, and he needed me to get red spider eggs, a red vineworm, and a fat snail. And I didn't fancy doing that tonight, so I'll figure that out next time I log on instead. I'll see you then. Alright, today I'm unlocking fairy rings. I need a red vine worm, which I already have in my bank, so I have to get a fat snail and red spider eggs still. I'm going with the eggs first, so I'm on my way to Varrock. I can get them down through this trap door somewhere, but after trying to figure that out for a while, it was actually in the wilderness section, and I don't want to do that. So I left there and entered the sewers instead, and I tried to find some down here, but I was walking about for ages. My sense of direction is actually shocking. I couldn't figure out where the heck they were at all. It took me a while, but I eventually got them, and I teleported straight out of here. Then I started making my way to Mauritania. I entered the swamp to get the snail and made magic mushrooms, and then I'd already used up all my prayers, so I had to go and refill it, finish filling my sack up, and then attack this snail. But it turned out that it was actually the wrong kind of snail, so I tried again, and this time I actually got what I needed. I entered the grotto, prayed while I was here, got blessed by this green man, and then teleported to Lumbridge. I entered Zenaris and went towards Tangleroot for the big fight. I sussed out my safe spots, but then my chat told me about one right at the entrance, so I went with that instead. I stuck on my secateurs, attacked the tree, and then ran back out to my safe spot. And now all I had to do was flinch it. So I turned it on, left click attack, attacked the tree, then ran back, but I ran one square too far and fudged it all up. So I tried to quickly reset it, go back into the right square and tried again. And after a quick 20 minutes of attacking, running, waiting, repeating, I finally killed it, and I think I've probably learned how to flinch now. I spoke to the fairy godfather and completed the first part of the fairy tales quest. I used a bank here while figuring out how to do fairy tale 2. Step 1 was to talk to the farmer and drainer. Then I had to head back to Zenaris to use the fairy rings for the very first time. I travelled to AIR, then DLR, then DJQ, then AJS. Spoke to Fair Enough and then went back to Zenaris again. This time I had to pickpocket the fairy godfather. Waited a while for the other ones to stop looking, and then I went in for it. But I failed. I actually did have the thieving level that I needed, so I must have just done it really badly. I decided to leave the quest there anyway because I had finally unlocked fairy rings and that's all I really wanted. I bought some feathers instead and went fishing for a while, catching trout and salmon and then cooking them on this never-ending fire. And then after a while I went over to my waka tree and rowed myself down the river because I decided to have a go at Temp-Ross now. I grabbed a harpoon and a rope and then I hopped on this big boat. I hopped to the Temp-Ross world, grabbed a bucket and a hammer and started fishing and cooking and fishing and cooking. Then I loaded up the buckets with the fish and actually filled my buckets because I forgot to do that. And I also grabbed another one just in case. Then I just spent a while fishing, tethering, hammering, cooking, harpooning, and soon enough it was all done. And then it took me a bit of time to actually figure out how to leave here. But that was my first game completed, and my first drops were double spirit flakes and raw salmon. I hopped back on the boat and continued doing tempo until I completed 5 kills. Then I went back to the reward pool, and what I got was salmon, mackerel, pike, spirit flakes, tuna, more flakes, planks, fish, more fish, a casket, and more fish. And inside my casket we have 4 diamond necklaces. Not great. Maybe I'll do better next time. The last day I was on, I did my first 5 tempo kills. I'm going to complete 10 more kills and that'll give me 15 total kill count. After I'd completed those 15 kills, I had 37 reward permits. I grabbed my net and then went to the pool. This is what I got. First up, salmon. Next up, the goddamn fish barrel, followed by double flakes, then tuna, soaked pages and more flakes, more flakes, more flakes, more fish, fish, flakes, planks, nails, flakes, fish, planks, fish, lobsters, lots more fish and flakes, and that's us done. I am happy with that barrel. That's a 1 out of 400 drop, and I got it on probably my 6th tempo kill. Happy bloody days. I went straight back on the boat after that because I felt like I needed to do a few more kills while I had some luck on my side. After 10 more kills, I went back to the reward pool, and this time I got fish, lobsters, flakes, feathers, planks, pages, and bait. That was so much less exciting than getting the barrel. So I pieced out of that place and went to the thieving gardens instead. I grabbed enough of the tree fruit things to make 3 cocktails here, and I definitely got thrown out a few times, even with this plugin on. But then I handed them into Osman and got over 4,000 thieving XP for that, which pushed me up to a thieving level of 42. I thought about going to train my agility next, so I walked towards Canifus rooftops. And then I remembered that now I can actually use my fairy rings. So I used my arty cape, and then I fairy ringed my way over to Canifus instead. And I hopped around the rooftops here for a while. There's bound to be different ways to train agility other than this, but I actually don't know of any other ways, so rooftops it is. I spent the rest of my night hopping the tops here on the buildings and ended up on 44 agility. I logged out and then I logged on for a couple of hours the next day and just did the same thing again. I kept running around the roofs until I had 90 marks of grace, and that was enough for me to buy the Graceful legs and Graceful gloves. So with my marks of grace, I teleported over to Berthorpe and ran to the Graceful shop, and I bought my first 2 items of the Graceful set. Hopefully now I can run much further around this map. I feel like it's time to get another Slayer task done, so I'm going to grab a load of cakes from this stall, and then right here in Arty I can head into this gated area where I can kill dogs for my Slayer task. I was able to hide behind the fence and safe spot them with mage, but after not very long at all I ran out of runes, so I TP'd over to Varrock to buy lots more from the shop there, and once I'd done that I went back to my Slayer task. I had to kill 36 dogs in total, and once I'd done that I had completed my 5th task, and now I could finally start earning Slayer points. I headed to the bank to sort out what to do next, and I decided on starting the person of interest quest. I geared myself up because I'm a little bit worried about the upcoming fight, but then Velocity lured me away from the bank and took me down this trapdoor to show me how to safe spot Zamorak warriors. I'm bloody glad I can safe spot these things because they're level 85, and I'm after a drop here which is a 1 out of 50 drop rate, so I could be here a while. But I badly need an upgraded weapon because all these quests I have to do seem to have fights now. My bronze sword just ain't cutting it anymore. Eventually I got a rune dagger here, which is definitely an upgrade, but it's not actually what I'm after. I had to head back to Varric for another restock of my runes, and then followed Vel again and went back into fighting these guys. I killed a lot of them. I actually reached the drop rate and I still didn't have it, but then 52 kills in, I finally got the rune skim that I came here for. And after getting that, I went straight into starting the quest. I had to climb down this huge hole where someone had clearly died before, and then the flipping huge pig came out of nowhere and spat all over me. My hardcore's fate was on the line here. I lay here dying after what that pig had done to me until someone finally came along and saved me. But I wanted revenge, so I went back down into the hole, jumped over the rocks and attacked that pig. And once it was finally dead, I left the hole and went to see Sarah. She gave me 5,000 coins for killing the piggy, and then I went to see the girl who saved me. She gave me 30 Slayer reward points and completed the quest for me. I also got some reinforced goggles and Slayer XP. While I was here, I thought I might as well get my next Slayer task from her, and it was 32 ghosts. And I don't fancy doing ghosts right now, so I went to Alcarid instead to start the Temple of the Eye quest. This person here told me that I had to go into the abyss, which is not really ideal for a hardcore, but I'm trying to be less afraid of literally everything, so I walked towards Varric, apparently forgetting all about the whack canoe I could have taken up. And once I got there, I entered the Chaos Temple, and I spoke to the Mage of Zamorak. He offered to teleport me to the abyss, but I was so unprepared. I went to the bank instead, grabbed food and a one-click telly out just in case, then I went back in and let him do his thing. I spoke to the Dark Mage here and prayed so hard that nobody came along to kill me. He made me do some stupid colour puzzle thing. I went brown, grey, green, and then I got the next one wrong. I let chat decide here and they actually got it right, so I was finally on my way out of the abyss. I went back to this wizard and got teleported again, this time to the wizard tower. I had to do lots more puzzles here. This time it was figuring out different riddles for them. Then we had some sort of cult meeting in the basement to initiate me into the Temple of the Eye or something. We all entered this underwater arena thing, and then these weird attack creatures came out to attack us, but someone one-shot them all. And then they taught me how to complete the Guardians of the Rift minigame. I made 2 little baby rock golem things, whacked some stones, chiseled some things, jumped through the pillars, used the altars, and I prayed to the guardian thing here in the middle. Then he shot some magic out of his trident and right through this spinny hole, and that was the quest complete. I got 5,000 runecrafting XP, a medium pouch, and now I could complete this minigame for runecrafting XP, which sounds much better to me than running back and forth between the bank and the altars with pure essence. That left me on 75 total quest points and up my runecrafting to 28 now, and that's where I decided to leave it for that day. But next time, I was going to do the minigame, and I'm really hoping I get the pet here. I'm doing my first game of this Guardians of the Rift minigame today. Or, well, I would be if I could figure out how to enter through the gate thing. I haven't really got a baldy how to do this at all. I tried to follow the mass of people, but it wouldn't let me go down where they were. I wasn't allowed down the stairs because I didn't have the agility level. So I mined a different rock nearby, and then everyone was running away. I tried to follow, but they were running away everywhere now, and I got so confused. I tried to go into the portal things, but I couldn't get into them. So I went back to clicking the rocks, and then chiseled at the table for a while. I kept trying to get into the pillars, and I finally got into this one. So I made some runes here, and then clicked the rocks again. And when the game was finally over, it told me I hadn't contributed enough for any points. So I tried again while watching a video about it, and I also installed this plugin which helped massively. Now I could just mine the rocks until I had enough fragments that would fill my inventory, then chisel them into circles. Then I clicked green here, made the runes I needed, and used these to power up the giant rock man in the middle. I repeated these steps for the entire game. Oh, and I also hopped into this little yellow ball of light. Mining here let me skip the chiseling step. And once the game was finished, it said I had closed 1 rift with 2 elemental energy and 1 catalytic energy thingies. That's probably something to do with reward points, but I decided to just start a second game and keep doing this until I had stacked up some of these energy things. It took me 9 games to hit 15 and 14, and then I went to get my rewards. The first thing I got was Abyssal Pearls, followed by a Water Talisman, Law Runes, Nature Runes, Chaos Runes, Cosmic Runes, back-to-back Natures, Body Runes, Blood Runes, back-to-back Chaos Runes, more Body Runes, and more Pearls. I think that was 14 rewards just, so you must need 1 of each kind of energy to get 1 reward. I grabbed some logs from the bank here and prepped for a birdhouse run next. But before doing that, I stopped at Lumbridge to do my Tears of Guthix. This time it upped my Hunter level to 17, and next it was time for Fossil Island. I hopped on the boat and completed the birdhouse run, upping my Hunter level a few times along the way. I used the Artie Cape and Fairy Ring combo to head to Canifus next, where, you guessed it, we are back on the rooftops, clicking green constantly, collecting a few marks along the way. I actually reached 50 agility here today, and I still don't have the full Graceful set, so I decided to switch it up and head back to the runecrafting minigame instead. I have the rotation down pretty well now. I mine until a portal opens, then I mine in the portal, simple. Click green and make runes. Give the runes to the rock man, then deposit what's left in my inventory and just rinse and repeat this. I also learned that if the portal's up when the game's over, you can hop into it and start the next game in that little rock mining place. That's a heckin' big hack. Anyway, after doing a few games here, I went to pull the 15 rewards that I had banked. I got blood runes, pearls, water runes, air runes, more waters, air runes, cosmic runes, blood runes, a water talisman, pearls, fire runes, a cosmic talisman, more pearls, and cosmic runes. No pouches, no pets, no luck. I'm logging out of here for the night. I'm using the minigame teleport to take me to Trawler so I can hop on a charter boat to Catherby. I stopped in the bank here to pick up an emergency cake, and at the nearby mansion I started Merlin's Crystal. I had to fight Sir Mordred next, so I made sure I was geared up with food and hopped into a box to take me over to his fortress. As soon as I got there, these guards started attacking me. I made my way up as quick as possible and then realised I had Entity Hider on and someone was already attacking him. I tried just waiting for him to finish, but it was taking forever, so I hopped to the next world and started the fight. I had to eat a lot of cake, and I accidentally ran down the stairs at one point, but eventually I got him super low. Then his mum popped up asking me not to kill her son, so I spared him and went back to Catherby. I kicked some bees out of their home and stole their honey, killed a bat, and then asked this candle maker for a spooky black candle. And I was able to take the underground tunnel to Taverley next, where I had to speak to the Lady of the Lake. I walked all the way to Port Sarum, then had to go to Varrock, then back to the mansion where I saw a ghost, climbed the ladders, broke Merlin free from the ice, and finished the quest. And Trino Village was up next. Completing this quest will give me access to a new mode of hopping around the world using spirit trees. I spoke to the gnome with the red hat, then the one in a brown hat, and this right here pretty much sums up my RuneScape experience. I clicked the door to open it and tried to go in, but my spam clicks made me path around the outside, had to stop and go back to the front, close the door myself, and had to reopen it again to get in. Am I the only one that does shit like this? Anyway, after speaking to the prisoner gnome, I loaded up this giant crossbow thing and fired something out of it. I climbed through this pile of rubble, and this guard popped out of nowhere and started attacking me. I ran up the ladder, looted this chest, and got the hell out of there. I climbed through this little fence and spoke to the king in here, and next up it was fight time. I threw my spells out at the guy here, but for some reason he kept walking away from me. This was messing up my safe spot, and I had to keep running in and attacking him and then running back to my safe spot area. I really should have marked the tile too, because I kept forgetting which one was safe, and I took a few whacks because of it. It only would have taken 3 max hits to kill me here, and my reactions are shockingly slow. But I was able to defeat him without dying. I lifted his balls off the ground and then gave them to this fancy tree, and now I could finally use the spirit trees to get around this world faster. This quest also gave me a hefty attack XP drop, which upped my level to 38, and also upped my combat to 37. I decided to do Below Ice Mountain next. I had to grab some bread from the cake stall before heading over to Willow to start the quest. The entire thing seemed to be some sort of PE lesson. There was jogging on the spot, star jumps, 100-meter sprints, push-ups, and a cooldown with some games of rock, paper, scissors. In round 1 I chose rock and he chose paper, but apparently he was too hammered to think straight, so I won that round. Then I won the second and the third rounds as well, and after that was over we blew up the doors into these ruins, and they left me alone here to fight this rock man. I tried to do the pillar method to kill it, but it kept hitting me. I stuck at it though, and soon enough it was dead, and now I had access to the ruins of Camdazal. I haven't a baldy what you can actually do here, or if it's useful, but at least I've unlocked it for now. I teleported out of there and killed a rat to get its bones, then killed a goblin for its skull, and a ram for its skull too. I tried to go into the swamp hole, but I didn't have a torch. I thought, fuck, I'll try to go in anyway. And then this message appeared in my chat, so I ran back out, killed a unicorn for its horn instead. I grabbed myself a light source and tried that swamp hole again. Attacked the hopper for a frog leg, carved a canoe to take me to the Champions Guild, hopped out of it and went straight to the bear nearby, took its ribs. I ranged a monkey and then I cast a telegrab to get its paw, and then I had to buy lots of vinegar and throw each bone into a pot. Now I had to cook them. This quest is so odd. Each time I had to light my own fire, put the pot on, and then wait for them to boil, and then do it all over again. Once it was finished, I handed them over to this guy with a huge sack and I finished the quest. It gave me enough prior XP to level up to 20. Told the guy in the library about that quest and got myself a nice little bit of XP. I decided to throw it on construction and I brought it up to 31, and that's where I finished for the night. I started today by getting the things ready so that I could do the giant dwarf quest. Then I teleported myself over to Lumbridge and I bought a few things from the basement shop so that I could make a red berry pie and stick it in the oven. Then I went through this cave entrance and spoke to the dwarf here to start the quest. A quest that I would soon learn was absolutely horrendous to do. I had to speak to the majority of the people in Keldagrim, which is pretty aptly named because running back and forth in this place is nothing but grim. At one point I had to leave here and find Thurgo just to give him that red berry pie that I'd made, then come back here to do more tasks and prove myself. I had to get initiated into the blue opal. First task I had to do was to get 3 pieces of tin ore. I checked my bank and I didn't have enough, so I had to go down here and find a guy who would sell me some. I bought some copper and iron too, just in case, and then headed back to the opal guy. The next quest he gave me was to get 3 copper ore, which luckily I had right here with me now. So I handed those over and got the third task, which required 3 pieces of mithril ore. I chanced my arm and said no to this one and got a new one instead, and the next one was 5 pieces of coal, which I also didn't have with me. So I just went back to the shop and got some more coal. I also grabbed gold and silver this time, and after giving in the coal, I needed 3 iron ore. Luckily, I dropped mine on the ground before leaving here, so I could just pick it up and use it. And then I was told to talk to the director, and he wanted 2 silver bars from me. I just went downstairs and bought them at the shop down below, but he wouldn't talk to me again to take them off me. He told me to speak to the secretary again, and none of the options here seemed to be working. I had no idea what I'd done wrong. I tried just doing another task for this guy, so I dropped the ores that I had, bought what he needed in the shop, gave him what he wanted, and finally he told me to speak to the director again. Hopefully this time it doesn't mess up. This time he wanted 4 steel bars, and luckily I had 4 in my bank, so I grabbed them and gave them over. And finally, he did actually ask me to join his wee gang, but I didn't even want to join him anymore. But I had to finish the quest, so I joined the Blue Opal and then went to get my rewards. That was for sure a ground quest, but it did give me some nice XP drops at least. It upped my smithing to 32, my crafting to 36, and my magic to 40, and my thieving to 43. Surprisingly, I did actually go straight on to do another quest after that one, this time the Garden of Death. This will get me a huge 10,000 farming XP drop. So I prepped for it and made my way to this campsite, went down into this hole where I had to do some translations from a stone tablet, and then I ran through this area of lizards things that poisoned and attacked me. I'm so glad that that wasn't a multi-area and I'm still alive. I hopped on a wee boat and went down into another hole, completed some more translation things, then ran back through the lizards and down this hole. Quests like this really make me glad that Quest Helper exists. I had one more set of translations to do after that, and then this quest was complete. That didn't really seem like a farming quest to me at all, but I'm not complaining about 10,000 XP. It took me right up to 32 farming, and now I can grow Ranar weeds. Next up was a Black Knight's Fortress, which I had to start from the castle in Falador, and then nearby I could buy an iron chain body that I needed for this quest. The fortress here was pretty scary and my spam clicks weren't helping me. I had to go up and down lots of different ladders and then sneakily listen in through this gate. I went to go into this room next, but I couldn't choose the right option to get in because this guy kept attacking me. I finally got him stuck and entered. I flung a cabbage into the pipe here, which ended up in the witch's cauldron and absolutely ruined her potion. I headed back to Falador and completed the quest, and it didn't actually really get me anything useful, but it was a pre-requirement for doing recruitment drive, which is what I started next, right here in the same place. I spoke to the guy sitting on the bench in the park, and he stuck me in some escape room type thing. First I looted the room and then made a wee potion on the Bunsen burner. I stuck a spade in the door and poured out some chemical things to break through the lock, I guess, and then I made my way out of here. The next room was a memory test, which was super easy. And then in this room I had to fight my way out. I lifted the warhammer and then started punching. Equipping the warhammer helped and I was able to win the battle and leave that room. Finally, I had to carry a chicken across the bridge and then carry a fox over, take the chicken back, and then the sack was up next. Then back to the chicken and we were all across safely. And after that, I'd escaped all the rooms I needed to and the quest was over. It gave me some prayer, herblore and agility XP. And also a nice 3,000 coin drop. I got 22 prayer and 20 herblore off that quest. And then I didn't really know what to do next, so I spent ages standing in the bank and finally decided to take myself over to Draenor Manor to kill ghosts for my Slayer task. I wanted to use range here because I desperately need to level up that skill, but it was taking me so feckin' long to do these kills. I used a massive amount of my arrows here too, so I kept picking them up and re-equipping them when I could. I figured out a way to safe spot them using the stuff that was lying on the floor, and eventually I reached a range level of 19. And now I can so nearly upgrade to that better bow. I also hit 850 total levels while I was here, and soon enough I was level 20 and could use a willow bow. But what wasn't soon enough was finishing this damn Slayer task. It took me 50 minutes to kill 32 ghosts, but once I'd killed them, I completed the Slayer task, and then I grabbed the arrows that I could and left the place hoping I'd never be back here. I got a clue scroll during that Slayer task, so I headed over to Lumbridge for the first step where I had to speak to the cook. He gave me a new clue scroll, and it told me to go to the manor that I was literally just at. Great. So back I went and I got another clue scroll which told me to go back to the cook again. This game's actually taking the mickey out of me here. Thankfully I got my casket next, which gave me a staff of water and some fish. And I'd honestly had enough at that point and logged out for the night. To start today off, I used the game telly to get myself to Berthorpe and headed to the Graceful shop where I picked myself up a fancy new pair of boots in the hood. Then I used the Canifus fairy ring to teleport me back to the rooftops because I still didn't have enough to get all of the Graceful pieces. I ran around here until I completed 500 total laps and then I prepped for a birdhouse run. I'm basically becoming a pro at doing these now, and by pro I mean I didn't actually forget seeds this time. I completed the entire run and then decided to get myself a new Slayer task. I spent so long running around the rooftops that I could actually use that game telly again and went to Guardians of the Rift because it was close to Draenor, and then ran up and asked Spray for a Slayer task. She gave me the task of 45 wolves. I thought that wouldn't be too difficult, so I instantly geared up and found myself some wolves right by a fairy ring. I clearly read the wiki wrong though, because these ones were level 69 and they did a hell of a lot of damage to me. I was spam eating cakes, and 8 whole cakes later I'd finally killed just one. That's not sustainable at all when I have to kill 44 more, so I chronicled tallied and found myself some much lower level 11 wolves in the stronghold. I 3-hit the first wolf, so this definitely seems like it was the right idea. I also got a clue scroll drop pretty early on here, but stayed until the end of my task. Then I did the first step with the clue
blue, then headed to the G for the second step, and I just got the casket here. And inside I had some runes and a pickaxe, worth 163 coins in total. But shite that. A home telly to do tiers of gothics next. I filled up my little bowl with a blue juice, then swallowed it all, and my herblore shot up to 23. But that means I still can't make energy potion. Next up, I started Ernest the chicken. I had to pick up some fish food around this mansion, and then pick up a spade to go digging in the sandbox. After that, I poisoned the entire fish population in the fountain, grabbed one out, grabbed a rubber tube, pulled many different levers in the dungeon here, also that I could grab this oil can and bring it to this odd man. He fired up this machine and then turned this chicken into a man, and that was that. Next up, I started Tower of Life. I spoke to this guy passed out by the boxes, then spoke to the workmen around the tower until one gave me a bloody helmet. I needed this guy to give me his boots, but he wouldn't give them up, so I pickpocketed him loads of times, and I kept flipping failing. Eventually, I did finally get the boot, and then I searched in the bushes nearby for trousers. Now I could finally enter the tower, and I searched through all the crates in here to find what I needed to do this quest. Once I had all of them, all I had to do was click blue thanks to the quest helper plugin, and then I searched a lot more crates, clicked a lot more blue, more crates again, more clicks again, and then these people came along and summoned some baby monster into a cage. I made a deal with the thing to let it out, and then we went down and scared the crap out of the purple people. And that finished the quest with a drop of construction, crafting, and thieving XP. My final quest of the day was Pirate's Treasure. I'm still banging these quests out, which is nice, but I reckon that the grind will get a lot longer soon. Stocked up on some rum and bananas, stashed them in a crate here, and snuck into the back of the shop to steal them back. I swapped the rum with a pirate for a key, opened a chest, and got a treasure map. I dug where X marked the spot, but a guy popped out of nowhere and started attacking me. I staff bashed him with my fairy stick and then dug again and received the treasure chest. Inside it was a gold ring and an emerald. Really not worth my time. I then ended the day how I started it on the canvas rooftops. I'm really trying to get this graceful set. I think I'll be happy when I get the top at least. I'm not sure I'll swap out the cape for my arty one quite yet, so that can wait a while. After 30 laps around here, I logged out quite content for the night. I'm making progress here at least. Last time I logged out with only a few laps to go until I hit a new agility level. Today I started by finishing that up, and at this point I just needed one more lap, but then I fell at the last jump. So another time around the roofs, and finally I was 56 agility. I was thinking about trying to do Enlightened Journey next. By reading the wiki I was pretty sure that I actually needed to plant the willow tree and grow it myself. I stopped by Spree on the way through Draenor to get a new Slayer task. Only 2 episodes ago I had that agonising Ghost Slayer task that I arranged, and that's exactly what she wanted me to do again, but this time it was only 23 instead of 32. I really don't want to go back there right now though, so I continued on starting the Enlightened Journey quest. I made my way over to the gardening shop because I've actually not done any farming before. I had to grab a watering can, some filled plant pots, and a gardening trowel for planting the seed. I popped the willow seed that I luckily already had from Wintertodt into a plant pot, filled up the watering can at the sink, and then I started spiraling here about how I needed willow branches to be able to make a basket to ensure that my willow tree grew, but to be able to get willow branches I needed to make the basket, which I needed the tree for. But after a bit more time spent reading the wiki, I realised that the shop I was at literally sold them. I must have completely overlooked that, so I went back and got a full pack of them. Then I checked that I could actually plant the willow tree, which I probably should have done first, but luckily I actually did have the level for it. But what I didn't have was apples to fill up the basket. But thankfully that was just because I spelt it wrong. I did actually have apples, cooking apples anyway, and after another check of the wiki, that's apparently okay. So I filled up the basket, got Aggie here to make me some red and yellow dye, and then I realised that I didn't actually own a rake. So back to the garden shop and a rake purchase later, I was on my way to the Lumbridge tree patch. I raked it, planted my seed, and paid with a basket of apples that I had, and now I needed to wait for that to grow. I got what I needed to continue on the quest, well, what I had in my bank at least. I had to make a third flipping stop at the shop for a sack, and a stop in Arty for some silk, and another one for papyrus and woolly balls, and a stop in Yaneel for potatoes. And now I could finally do the first step, where I had to go to Entrana. I wasn't allowed any weapons or armour here, so I took off everything that I thought I needed to, but I still wasn't allowed on the boat. Apparently I had to bank the Arty cape too, and that cape is literally like a safety blanket for me right now, so I didn't want to do that. But with it off, I was able to make my way on to Entrana, where I started the quest. Me and this guy launched a wee balloon off together, but it didn't end well. So we tried again, and this time it was attacked by a load of pitchforkers. Then he wanted more sandbags from me. So I filled my sacks up and handed them over. And this was the part where I needed my willow branches, but that was going to take hours for it to grow. So I decided to finish there for the night. And when I came back on the next day, I was excited for my willow branches to be done and get on with this quest. But if you haven't noticed already, I don't read very well, because I actually had to go and check the tree before the branches that I needed even started to grow. So I checked the health of it and got a Hespori seed, which was a nice collection log pop-up, and then another wait began. It was going to take an hour for my willow branches to grow. I was able to do Tears of Gothic, so that's the first way I decided to waste some time. This time I got enough blue juice to up my prayer level to 24, which was a huge 2-level increase. Now I needed to figure out how to waste the rest of the hour. I decided to take a wee paddle up the river and head to Fossil Island to do a birdhouse run, but I completely forgot the logs this time. What was I saying recently about being professional at this? I guess I'm not as good at the birdhouse runs as I thought. A quick bank stop later and I was on my way around the island, and I hit 870
75 total levels and 25 hunter while I was here. Then I went back to Lumbridge to check how many branches I had. I was able to get 4 branches from the tree. Then I went to Draenor Manor to do that flippin' ghost task that I had. This time though I was just going to melee them because ranging them absolutely sucked. I was leveling up a lot here, which was nice. I hit 40 combat and 39 attack, finished my task of 23 ghosts, and then went back to the tree. I was able to get 4 more branches. Then I went to refresh my Slayer task. Next up was 48 lizards, which I didn't want to do right now. I spent some time hopping around in Draenor because my seeds for my birdhouse's stash was running low, and then I grabbed loads of food so that I could start the Corsair Cursed quest. This man took me on a wee boat trip to a private island, but the people on here had all been cursed. Wee Colin here told me all the drama. He saw it all happen through his telescope apparently. Someone had fished up a demon doll, so I tried to bury it, but it ran back into the ocean, and then this ogre swam over to get it. But in the end it turned out that this guy was actually faking the curse the whole time, and I was going to expose him, so he attacked me. I tried to safe spot him, but ended up just tanking hits instead. And once he was dead, I spoke to the travel guide back on the boat and the quest was finished. I ran straight back to my willow tree and got enough branches this time to finish this quest. So I headed back to Entrana to continue on. We built a hot air balloon, then I guided it through some high-tech 2D puzzle screens and ended up in Taverley with the quest finished. And I got some drops of fire making, farming, crafting and woodcutting XP. But more importantly, now I can use the balloon transport system around Gilnor. I decided to continue questing for a while with Tribal Totem, so I spoke to someone in Brimhaven. This quest was pretty quick. I got teleported by this wizard in Ardy, completed this lock puzzle, climbed up the stairs, but triggered a trapdoor and ended up in the sewers. Had to get teleported again and went up properly this time. Looted the chest for the tribal totem, returned it to the guy in Brimhaven, and that gave me 5 swordies and some thieving XP. Next up was Sleeping Giants. This quest would give me access to the Giants Foundry minigame. I grabbed wool from a sheep and then followed this blue line around the desert. This Kovac guy asked for my help making giant weapons and showed me around their factory. I basically ran around this place like a headless chicken for a while, trying to figure out what way I was meant to make a sword, and I kept messing it up. It really was not enjoyable, and I thought that the UI here sucked, which made it even worse. But once I'd finished it, I hit 35 smithing, and I don't know if I'll ever actually go back there because that minigame was horrible. I went to speak to Gerald to start the Making History quest next. I dug up an enchanted chest, used a key on it, went to Relica for the first time and spoke to a few people there, then headed to Port Phasmatas where I had to grab some slime and chicken, then worship at this fountain thing, and now I could enter here and talk to the ghosts. Then I headed back to Gerald to finish the quest with 1000 prayer and crafting XP. And at this point I don't know how many quests I'd done, but it felt like a lot, so that's where I ended for the night. Alright, today I'm hoping to get the golem quest completed, but I need soft clay to be able to do that, which I don't have. I need a jug of water and normal clay to do that, which I do have. I just gotta fill my jugs up here at this pump first, and then pour the water onto the clay. Now I can make my way to Alcarid. Well, that's what I intended to do anyway, but I got distracted and went by the Slayer Master and Draenor to check my task. It was 48 lizards, which I could do in the desert where I'm heading. So I got the ice coolers that I needed to complete the task and entered Alcarid. I bought a desert top and some water skins to keep me safe out there, then decided to ferry ring in instead of walking the whole way. I'm pretty scared for my first time in the desert here, but that's not abnormal for me. I'd be scared of my own damn shadow, honestly. I went to start the golem quest first by using the clay that I'd made on him. Then I picked up and clicked through this letter, entered the runes, grabbed this strange implement thing, and then I was at the point where the next step was outside the desert, which means that now it was time to kill the lizards. I had to deal with both the desert heat and the lizards trying to kill me, and I wasn't sure when I needed to drink this water. But chat told me that it auto did it for me, so thanks for that, Jagex. That's actually quite nice. I just needed to focus on the lizards for now. I was attacking this one to begin with because I didn't realise that the little ones would actually count for my task, but apparently they do, so I'm definitely taking the easy way out and doing them. I got a nature talisman from killing the first big one, and then I tried to focus on getting the baby ones, but the big ones kept getting in my way. At one point I wasn't paying attention to RuneScape and looked back over and my health was deteriorating rapidly because I'd accidentally auto-retaliated against a big one. I ran away and I ate my lobsters and then pieced out of here until my heart rate came down again, and instead of going straight back there I decided to do a birdhouse run and got a couple of hunter levels doing that. Then I did the next steps of the golem quest because they were around this damn dig site area in the Varric Museum anyway. Then I went back to the desert again. I continued with the quest instead of going back to fight the lizards. This cool little phoenix thing gave me a feather and I gave it to the golem and the quest was done. Now it was back to lizards. I kept getting them low, sticking them in the coolers, and once I'd finished off 48 of them, my task was finally done. I've been told that always working towards finishing Recipe for Disaster is one of the best progress goals to set yourself for the early game, so I'm going to try and do the dwarf sub-quest for that next. I grabbed his Scarnian eels, stuck a penny in them, spoke to the drunk dwarf here until he made a cake out of some rocks, and then I had to kill this ice fiend because that would cool the cake down or something. On the way down I passed by this shooting star below the mountain, so of course I stopped there for a while, and then I took the rock cake to the dwarf, and then I'd completed one part of the Recipe for Disaster quest. That leaves 6 more sub-quests to go. Then off stream I've been spending some time mining some stars. When I came back on the next day I'd earned enough stardust to get the mining ring. So I bought it from this shop, which also got me a collection log pop-up. Then I was prepping to do Forgettable Tale, but you couldn't buy the barley that you needed to do it, and after the willow grind that I'd done recently I just didn't have that in me, so I binned that off and mined some more stars while figuring out what to do next. After a lot of time spent thinking, I decided to do Ghosts Ahoy. I headed to Lumbridge to make bowstring, which I needed to make an oak longbow. Then I could enter Port Phasmatis and start the quest. I had to grab some nettles and make some nettle tea, then feed it to the old lady here. Then there was a big lobster fight up next. I opened the chest and ran, but then I actually had to go back and search it to make the lobster pop out. Then I ran away and went up this ladder by mistake. I had to come back down to start the fight. I was going to try and safe spot it, so I got myself behind the ladder and attacked it, but it flippin' disappeared, so I had to restart the entire fight. This time I tried to use magic spells on it instead of ranging it, and then when it was finally downed, I looted a treasure map from the chest. I grabbed wood leaves from the gardener here. Thank God I didn't have to grow these as well. And then I tried to grab onions from the shop, but they didn't sell them. So I found a field nearby instead. Now Aggie could make me some dyes, and someone in chat told me that I could actually just use the item on her to make a dye instead of going through the chat dialogue each time. That was an absolute game changer. I mixed up the dyes and then put them on this flag in the right order. I headed back over to the ship, climbed the ladder on purpose this time, spoke to the man here, and then looked in this chest and got another piece of the treasure map. I hopped my way along these giant stepping stones and got the third piece of the treasure map from here. Then I fell flat on my face and eventually made my way over to Dragontooth Island, which is where the map had told me there was treasure. I dug where blue marked the spot and got a book. Then back in Port Phasmatis, this Peter Pan looking man told me that he wanted to play a game with me. I guessed it was a bit like 21, so whenever I hit 21 I held and I won the round, but he wanted me to play another one and I insta-lost this time with a death rune. So we played again and I won, but he wanted me to keep playing, so maybe I need to win 3 here or something. If it was 21, I should have held here because drawing again got me a death rune and I lost. So we played again for my third win, but it was a loss thanks to another death rune. Then in the next game I lost again because of another death rune. In the next game he got a death rune, so I finally won, and that was 3 wins, but that still wasn't enough apparently. Luckily he got the back-to-back death runes and I won again, and this time he admitted defeat, signed the sword for me, which I handed over to this girl. Then I wrapped the bedsheet around myself and spoke to the ghosts around here. I needed 10 signatures on some petition from these guys, but most of them politely told me that they weren't interested. Eventually though I did get enough signatures, so I went to steal the robes out of this guy's coffin and gave them to the old woman. She was oddly pretty happy about that. After that was done, I made this necrovirus guy agree to let all the ghosts pass through into the next world. Then I told the ghost where I started this quest that I'd done everything she asked me to, and I finished the quest and got an Ectophile, along with free entry into this town and some prayer XP. I tested out the Ectophile a few times and then ran back towards Canifis, but I got attacked on the way, so I one-click telly right back, and I didn't actually fancy starting anything else at that point, so I ended there for the night. Alright, starting off today, it's time for Tears of Gothics again. I got 68 blue juices in the bowl this time, which leveled my range to 25, and then I prepped for a birdhouse run. I took the canoe up the river to Varric and stopped on my way through here to check my kudos. I have 108 at the minute. I need 153 to use that gate that takes me over to the Fossil Island boat quicker. I spoke to the guy here and then I left with 113 kudos. I'm still a while away. I used a lump that I got from here on herblore, and now I have 25 levels, and I can clean ranars. I got out all the ones that I had in my bank and cleaned them, and then I went and completed this birdhouse run. I got 28 hunter and 29 hunter, and then I decided to do this beginner clue scroll. The first step was Charlie, and he wanted a leather body, which luckily I actually had in my bank, so I grabbed it out and handed it over to him. The next step was to dig in a spot nearby Varric. Handy enough. Then for the next step I had to grab this little orb from my bank and a spade and hop across the river and dig in this spot. And I got my casket here. I opened it up and inside was a bow worth 57 coins. That sucks. A little bit of bank standing next to try and figure out what to do. I thought about doing my Slayer task next, but I decided that I couldn't be arsed to do that right now. So I considered doing Demon Slayer instead. But the big demon hits 9s, and I'm not sure I'm good enough to do that yet. In the end I decided just to do Guardians of the Rift. I have 56 agility now, and I think that's what I needed to do the slope down to the better rocks. So I went to Guardians of the Rift, climbed on down there and mined the rocks. Then I did the chiseling, entered lots of altars, made lots of rune things and gave them to the Guardian. And after enough games here to get me 4 points in total, I went to pull my rewards. I got a Mind Talisman, a Nature Talisman, Abyssal Pearls, and 96 Nature Runes. Then I left that place and ferry round over to Canifis. I hopped around the rooftops here for a while until I had completed 10 total laps. Then I tallied away to do Sorceress's Garden. I can still only do the spring one, so I grabbed enough fruits from there to make 5 of the beer things and then handed them over to the guy. My reward was 6,750 XP, and now I have 45 thieving levels, which means I can actually do the Autumn Garden now instead. So I had to go and do that a few times of course, which was harder than the spring one actually, but the plugin definitely helps. I made 3 beers and handed those in, which got me another thieving level. Then I fancied something a little bit more chill, so I cut willow trees for a while and fletched the logs. Fetching is one of the skills that I really need to work on, but then a star popped up here, so I mined it instead. I love how AFK these stars are. I mined it for ages, and then once it was finished I found another one and mined it down too, and during that one I got a clue, so that's what I did next. First up was a wizard star basement, and the next step was over to Charlie. He wanted leather chaps this time, which luckily I had in my bank as well, so I handed those over and got the casket. And inside was a black robe top. Not great at all. Then after that I accidentally took an unplanned 5-month break, but you'll not have to wait 5 months for the next episode.